called for me. They ran and they called for me, so I ran.
Okay.
It's a story that shook the valley years ago, and tonight, for the first time, we're seeing video from inside Hacienda Healthcare, the day a patient in a vegetative state gave birth when no one knew she was pregnant. It happened back in 2018.
Eventually, a nurse named Nathan Sutherland was arrested and convicted of sexual assault. But for a while, staff and family had no idea who could have raped the victim. And Arizona's Family Source is now revealing more than ever before as we see what unfolded that day of the birth. True Crime Arizona's Brianna Whitney investigated this case for more than a year. Brianna, it's been a while since this case was in the news. What are we learning tonight?
It's crazy seeing this video because we spent so much time reporting on this. I think I did like 50 stories on this. Up until now, we've heard about the stress and chaos of what happened, but now for the first time, we're actually seeing it. It wasn't until this patient in a vegetative state went into labor that nurses and staff realized what was going on because it was unfathomable she could be pregnant at all. Right after the birth is when the body camera video from a police officer begins.
Oh my God, he's great. He's right there.
43, she's doing pretty good. Okay.
A chaotic and emotional scene inside Hacienda Healthcare on that December 2018 night. Christmas decorations still up to spread joy, while unexpected terror unfolded.
When I looked, it wasn't really had the baby come in.
Phoenix police and law enforcement officers responding to the care facility after nurses called 911 when their patient gave birth to a baby boy who at first was not breathing. A former Hacienda employee and longtime Arizona's Family Source remembers what happened with the staff member who first discovered the victim in labor.
When she opened the diaper, there was a head. And that poor aide didn't work for a month. She was so distraught. So traumatized by the whole thing.
The video shows Phoenix police trying to figure out who has access to the room.
All of her medical records, primary care physician, nurses, visitor logs, tracking about probably 9 months back.
Only female care only.
Okay, so no males ever go into her room, allegedly.
But we now know one of her nurses, Nathan Sutherland, was the rapist, convicted of sexually assaulting her after the baby's DNA matched his. Our source explains the caregivers were all women, but not necessarily other staff.
Hey, caregivers, they're talking about people who bathe you and dress you and feed you. But the nurse is something different. That's on a different level.
Got
the nurse
it.
gives out medications and things like that.
The former employee says not one person suspected Sutherland, so much so there was relief he was working in the days after what happened.
One of the parents, after the birth, Nate was working. This is before it was revealed who he was. One of the parents came up to him one night and said, "I'm so glad you're working tonight. I know my child is always safe when you're here."
The employee I spoke with has struggled with the deceit from someone they all worked with and trusted, even considering reaching out to him in prison.
Thought so many times about writing Nate and seeing if he would write me back.
We reached out to Hacienda Healthcare about the new body camera video. They sent us a statement that says, in part, seeing video from that night almost 5 years ago is still gut-wrenching. Our hearts again go out to the victim and her family, and we remain disgusted by the behavior of the nurse who harmed a patient. Almost 5 years later, virtually everything about Hacienda Healthcare is different. We have new board members, new leaders, new personnel, new security infrastructure, new procedures, and new resident care protocols. And some of those changes include new security cameras in many more places in the facility. That's something staff in the body camera video tells police officers there wasn't much of at the time. Nathan Sutherland pleaded guilty 2 years ago to 2 felony charges of abusing and sexually assaulting the patient and was sentenced to 10 years in prison, where he is now, guys.
Brianna, do we know all these years later how the baby is doing and how his mom, the victim, is doing?
Yeah, it's a question I get the most. We actually have really good news on that front. I did talk to the family attorney today. He told told me that the baby, he's a boy, he'll actually be 5 years old in December, which is hard to believe. He is walking and he is talking, which is something people were concerned of just based on the nature of his birth. But the family attorney did say he is too young to tell ultimate mental development. That's something we'll still have to learn. But overall, good news on that front. And then also he told me that the mom, the victim, is in another Phoenix care facility and is healthy. So those are two really good updates that we didn't know we would get.
Yeah, it's been almost 5 years. We're just seeing this for the first time. Why did it take so long? Why is now the time that they're giving this to us?
It's a great question, and we honestly don't know why it's being released now. But when we're trying to get video in an investigation like this, we file what's called a Freedom of Information Act request. It's what we do with police officers and departments, sheriff's departments, things like that. We don't know how long those will take to get fulfilled, and we don't know why it's being fulfilled now. Sometimes we get it really quickly if it's a critical incident. Sometimes it takes years, like you see here. So it's kind of one of those no rhyme or reason things, but because we did put that in the process, we asked for this in the right way, we did eventually get it. So honestly, I don't have an answer exactly, but this is when we got it. And so we know our viewers followed us for so long through this investigation that it is something people would want to see and know about.
Yeah, very high profile case. Thank you for the update, Brianna Whitney.